Hi everyone, I'm Lynsey Henry and I'm back for another live event with Stigma-Free Society. Now please just take a moment to read our video disclaimer in the video description box, and we're and your safety. So just a reminder, we're doing these live events for you. So if at any time you have any questions or comments, please feel free to write them in the comments box and I'll answer them to the best of my. Now check out our Stigma-Free Toolkit at stigmafreetoolkit.com, and lots of new things and new changes coming for the fall, so look out for all those and follow our Facebook page and Instagram page. So once again, I'm Lynsey Henry. I'm a registered clinical counselor. I also worked as a teacher for many years, and I work as a school counselor in elementary schools right now for ages kindergarten to grade 7. So today I wanted to talk to you a bit about LGBTQIA2S and just how we can support youth that are experiencing that. So just to define it for you, this includes lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning, intersex, asexual, two-spirit, and other self-identity forms, and which is the plus. So for today, if at times I refer to it as LGBTQ+, it's just for ease of conversation. But I'm not forgetting all of the other identities that are possible. So why did I want to talk about this today? Well, there's many different reasons why this is an important topic. One reason is this past weekend, the long weekend, would have been our Vancouver Pride Parade, and it was Pride Week last week. But unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we weren't able to do an in-person parade. So there was, as far as I know, I found out that there was a lot of cool online events happening instead at vancouverpride.ca. And they organized a virtual week with all kinds of speakers on Sunday on social media, musical performances, and there was even an art walk outlined in an app. So you can download the app. I downloaded it myself, the Pride Vancouver app, and there's all kinds of cool stuff on there. So there was the art walk, like I mentioned, even playlists, different artist bios, some different events happening in Vancouver. So really cool resources there. Many other reasons why this is important to talk about. One, I came across this rights campaign article, and they listed so many risk factors for LGBTQ plus youth and just highlight the importance of this topic. Because of stigma and discrimination, LGBTQ plus youth are more likely than non-LGBTQ plus youth to struggle with their mental health. So there was a study done by the CDC in 2015 about a youth risk behavior survey, and they found that 60% of LGBTQ plus youth reported feeling so sad or hopeless that they stopped doing their usual activities. So this is a huge concern for their mental health, because a big symptom of mental health in adults and youth is losing interest in those activities that they really enjoy. So I was shocked to hear that as well. Also, they're twice as more likely to feel suicidal, and over 4 times as likely to complete suicide in comparison to heterosexual youth. And that was a study done by Khan in 2016. Another important area that a lot of people forget about is restroom access and how that can have a profound effect on transgender youth and well-being. One study in particular found that transgender youth that were denied access to gender-appropriate facilities on college campuses were 45% more likely to try and take their own lives. My goodness. So it is huge that we be talking about this today and have these conversations and acceptance in our world of diversity overall. Some different protective factors I also wanted to point out to you for these LGBTQ plus youth is having strong family bonds and safe schools and different support from caring adults. So you might wonder now, well, what are schools doing? What are people like me as a school counselor doing to promote this acceptance? Well, myself, I've worked with a few students that have been exploring their sexuality, and a big piece of it for me is that validation, because often they're lacking that validation at home when they're questioning their gender identity or questioning their sexuality. And so I really want to make my room a safe space for those students to open up about their struggles. And I use a couple different resources that I wanted to share with you on live today. So, some different resources that Surrey School District has shown in workshops. One in particular is this genderbread person, and there is a new updated version. I didn't realize that when I printed it, but there's a version 4 available as well. And basically what it says on here is gender is one of those things that everyone thinks they understand, but like Inception, gender isn't binary. It's not either or. In many cases, it's both and. A bit of this, a dash of that. This tasty little guide is meant to be an appetizer for understanding gender. And it's okay if you're hungry for more. In fact, that's the idea. And you can check out more at their website, http://bit.ly/genderbread. And I'll post that in the comment section afterwards so you can see version 4. So first it goes through gender identity, and it shows it on a continuum here. And I think that's the most important point, is this is a continuum. You can fall anywhere along this line or the plot on this point. So as it says, plot a point on the continuum in each category to represent your identity. Combine all the ingredients to form you. And there's lots of different infinite possibilities and label combos. So keep that in mind as I go through the guide. So it says gender identity and womanness or manness. Now, how in your head do you define gender based on how much you align or don't align with what you understand to be the options for gender? So here it presents 4, but there's many more. So it presents woman, man, two-spirit, or genderqueer. Then it goes on to explain gender expression in being feminine or masculine. As the ways you present gender through your actions, dress, and demeanor, and how those presentations are interpreted based on gender norms. So the 4 options they give here, which there are many more, are butch, femme, androgynous, or gender neutral. On the 4th version, it talks about anatomical sex instead of biological sex here. And it talks about femaleness or maleness, and how the physical sex characteristics you're born with and develop, including genitalia, body shape, voice pitch, body hair, hormones, chromosomes, etc. And 4 different ways they define that is through male, female, intersex, or male to female, female. And it talks a bit about who we might be sexually attracted to, might be women, females, femininity, men, males, masculinity, and including an and or, because it may be and romantically attracted to. It could be nobody, which would be defined as asexual, or it could be defined as woman, females, femininity, or men, males, masculinity. And once again, that's included and or to encompass both. At the bottom of the diagram, it says here, in each grouping, circle all that apply to you, depicting the aspects of gender to which you experience attraction. So I really liked that visual, and you can present that in a one-on-one session with a youth that might be questioning, and just get them to go through and plot maybe where they're feeling if they're comfortable. Another one I came across that may be considered more inclusive is the gender unicorn. The reason why some people see this one as being more inclusive is because it includes a section for other gender or genders. And it goes through the same kind of way the genderbread person does, but it also goes through how sex is assigned at birth as female, male, or other, or intersex. So I think that's important to recognize as well. And once again, for the different continuums, who we're sexually attracted to, who we're romantically or emotionally attracted to. And this diagram is also available at www.transstudent.org/gender. And once again, I will include that in the comment section for you to look at afterwards, because they are really good visual graphics to present with clients or with youth. A third one that I really loved that I came across in learning and talking with other school counselors and what they do when working with LGBTQ+ students, I came across a website that I'm going to share with you in the comment section, and they have all these really cool affirmation cards. And I love words and I love affirmations. So like I said, for these youth, it's really important to have that validation. And affirmations give that validation and those positive thoughts and feelings. So I'm going to share a few of them with you that I really liked. So they come in these cards, and I usually chop them up and get the student to go through the different cards and which ones they relate to. So let's read a few. I appreciate the things my body can do. Pride just isn't a parade. All bodies are good bodies. My body is a good body. I honor that my relationship with my body is full of many emotions, gifts, and challenges. I forgot to mention also, these were all written by LGBTQ plus youth, so it's really relatable for our young people to be able to read something that is written by somebody that has been through similar struggles. And they have a bunch of different categories, so I'll read a few more. I can find ways to resist competition in my community. It's okay if I ask for support in correcting people when someone messes up my pronouns are another huge one, making sure we use the correct ones and try our best to correct ourselves. And you can be gentle with yourself when you make mistakes. It's okay to hold people accountable and expect others to do the same. It's a gift when I do this with grace and understanding. So there was many of these different cards. There's 62 in fact, and I like that they have so much choice, and just reading through them gives so much love and acceptance and just makes us feel good. For anybody, really. Affirmations, I love those words. All right, so some other stuff I do with my students. Art. I enjoy painting the rainbow, getting them to use their preferred pronouns in my office. Maybe they have a preferred name that they would like me to use and that we can practice together. And it just makes them feel comfortable in practicing that with me and then bringing it forward when they're comfortable with their friends and family. Using a crayon resist and watercolor paints to paint different meaningful quotes. For example, one that I related to was, I am unique and proud. So I just really love, as a counselor, incorporating different art activities. As I've told you many times before, it's just a really good way to engage youth in the counseling process. So now, resources for teachers. What can teachers do to bring this up in their classroom? Create a classroom community of more acceptance. So I have a couple novels for you. One of them I've read myself and I really enjoyed it. And it was called Lily & Duncan by Donna Gaffart. And it's good for ages 8 to 12. And it's about a boy named Duncan that moves to town, that's his nickname. And he's experiencing bipolar disorder and has trouble taking his medications regularly. And Lily, who is actually a born boy with boy parts, but feels like a girl. And her mother and sister really accept her as Lily. However, her dad still calls her Tim. And it goes through the different struggles that Lily and Duncan have. And I like that it incorporates both mental health education and acceptance for people of LGBTQ plus, and just having those conversations around diversity. Another book I heard is quite good is called The Other Boy by M.G. Hennessy, and that's good for grades 5 to 6, and it's about 12-year-old Shane and his journey towards self-acceptance. Another book is called Gracefully Grayson by Amy Polensky, and it's about 12-year-old Grayson that's been holding a secret that he is in the wrong gender's body. The last one is called The Pants Project by Kat Clark, and this is about Liv, who's a transgender born girl but has always felt like a boy. Liv knows he is always meant to be a boy, but with the school's dress code, he can't even wear pants, only skirts. So it goes through his journey in trying to reach the school and changing the uniform and the dress code. For younger kids, read alouds. Why not start young and start to have these conversations with elementary or kindergarten to grade 3 students? Why not? So some different books and read alouds for that age. Pride, The Story of Harvey Milk and the Rainbow Flag by Rob Sanders. It Feels Good to Be Yourself, a book about gender identity. And I really like that book and how it explains the different types and the different terminology of gender identity. And that's by Teresa Torn. And Stonewall, A Building, an Uprising, a Revolution. So some history there around what has happened in the past. And that's by Rob Sanders. I also have another book list that I will put in the comments section for you. There's tons all over Pinterest with book recommendations. So now you might wonder, well, what resources do we have out there for youth right now? And one I came across recently that sounded really cool is Foundry's Queer Cafe group, and that's for ages 12 to 24 on Thursday nights from 6 to 7 p.m. And it's for youth that identify as LGBTQ2IA. So once again, that's lesbian, gay, transgender, queer or questioning, two-spirit, intersex, asexual, aromantic, agender, or any other gender or sexual orientation are welcome. And it's facilitated by peer youth supporters, and they have different activities and discussion and games to keep it engaging for that hour on Thursday nights. Now you might wonder, well, what about our schools? What about the schools we send our children to? How are they supporting and promoting this diversity and acceptance? So one thing that we do in the schools is we do have SOGI training, and that comes across a couple times a year in Surrey, and teachers or other school staff can attend these workshops, and it's to provide a safe place in the school for LGBTQ plus students, and we mark it with a sticker or a sign outside the space, just letting them know it's a space of acceptance where they can be themselves and open up about any conversations around their sexuality and seek support and have a listening ear. So the person that goes to these workshops, or people, they will act as a lead at the school and deliver different resources and updates to all school staff. So something interesting that happened at my school this year that I really liked is generally at the end of the year, teachers are trying to organize their classes, and they do these slips called pinks and blues. And girls and blues are for boys. But this year they changed it around to make it white slips and to take away gender from the equation and to focus on other areas of the student rather than just their gender in determining classes. So I thought that was really cool and a really good accepting way instead of splitting up the two genders on typical blue and pink papers. So I thought that was really cool. Also, April 8th is International Day of Pink. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, I wasn't able to use the resources and fun activities that were sent to me around this. I was looking forward to joining a diversity club and really sharing some of these resources with teachers to do with their class. So basically, it's a day against homophobic, transphobic, and all forms of bullying. So to celebrate on April 8th, International Day of Pink, you can wear pink and challenge stereotypes by participating in activities. So for teachers, there was all kinds of lessons, books, songs, videos, and I thought that was fantastic just to have a special day to promote that. And I'm looking forward to being a part of that next year. All right. So that's all the information now. Just looking to see if I have any questions from the audience just around how to support these youth and what we can do as educators, as teachers, as a friend of a student, yeah, or just as an adult role model, anything that you were wondering. So I don't see anything quite yet. I'm going to go over a question that I think people might have, and that's just around families. What can you do if you're a parent and your child comes to you with these concerns? Well, I would say, or the advice I've given parents on the phone, is to just really listen to your child and don't question what they're saying. So just because when they were younger, they may have done things that are more typically considered boyish or typically considered girlish, doesn't necessarily mean that those things can change as they grow older. And just really listening and validating your child's concerns and just being there to help support them and just being a good listener and connecting them with other resources like their school counselor, connecting them with resources like Foundry that have groups started to start and spark those conversations. And another question you might have is just, well, these books and resources, do you think they really actually help students going through these struggles? And yes, I think they do. I spoke with my librarian about this, and I think by having more books available on mental health in general for students to read, and just by teachers reading them in their classroom, and for our LGBTQ plus youth, having books about gender identity from a younger age and just really building up that validation and that acceptance, I think it truly does make a difference. Having those tough conversations that some of us might be afraid to have, and myself and people from an older generation might be a little bit hesitant to speak at length about these issues because we're still learning ourselves. Like me, myself, I'm still also learning and would like to go to more training in this area and have more discussions with other counselor professionals and how I can support my students experiencing different questioning of their gender and their sexuality. So there's always more to be learned. And I think it's best that we always talk about these topics and not be afraid to. Because if we make mistakes, guess what? You can always come back from that and always learn more. So that's my biggest advice there. So I still don't see any questions, and that's all right. Sometimes we just like to absorb information, and if you have any later, please feel free to write them, and I'll get back to you later from my personal Facebook account, and I will get back to you with your answers. So I do have an activity planned for us today, as I usually do, and like I said, I love to do activities in my office with students to help engage them in the counseling, and something that they can take away and bring home with them and relate back to and reflect on. So today we're going to be drawing a rainbow. So on your paper, I'd like you to have it facing this way. So hamburger style, one might say, or horizontal. And I want you to draw a big rainbow in the middle of your page. And we're going to have the 6 different sections of the rainbow. Okay, so I'll give you a moment to sketch out your rainbow. And I will sketch out my rainbow too. So that's 1. So there's the first arc, and you're going to want to leave a bit of room to write some words in there afterwards, okay? So we're going to have 6 rings. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so here's my sketched out rainbow. Yours can look something like this. And I want us to go back to those affirmations and words that stick with us. I like to use affirmations in art a lot, just because the combination of the words and the art together can be quite meaningful and quite powerful. And afterwards, I like the idea of getting the student to hang the artwork on the wall in their bedroom or somewhere that they can visit frequently in a frame, on their desk, just so they can relate back and reflect on how those words make them feel. So I mentioned to you at the beginning of the talk, I am unique and proud, and that was one of my favorite affirmations or quotes. And feel free to write some of yours in the comment section that you really like as well. So my first part of my rainbow, I'm going to write, I am unique and proud. And generally in my office, I'd probably do this with crayons and watercolor paint because I love the watercolor paint. But just for ease today, I'm just using pen and paper, and for ease for you as well. All right, so another affirmation from my stack of affirmations that I really liked were my boundaries deserve respect. And I think that's a big part of learning to be an adult, is learning how to state boundaries and learning how to respect others' boundaries. So my boundaries deserve respect. All right, so going through my cards here, another one I really liked is pride isn't just a parade. Pride isn't just a parade. So I have that on my third part of my rainbow. Next, another one I really liked, even just for body self-esteem and confidence, was my body, or all bodies, are good bodies, and my body is a good body. So I'm going to write that in the 4th ring of my rainbow. All bodies are good bodies, My body is a good body. Okay, so looking at another affirmation I really related to and liked on these cards, you are not too much. You are exactly enough. You are not too much. You are exactly enough. Wonderful. So I'm on my last affirmation here, and I'm going to choose, sometimes bravery is, I will try again tomorrow. I will try again tomorrow. And that's the last affirmation in my rainbow. So, like I said, I would normally paint or color these with my students in my office and have we're talking with one another about what those mean to them, what those words mean to them. Some other pieces of advice that I've come across on social media and Instagram, just around pronouns. There's some really helpful resources. I'm going to create my own for my Passionate Counselor Instagram, so check it out. It'll probably be posted tomorrow, just around pronouns and practicing that language and just some different tips around that, because I feel like a lot of people really struggle with that, maybe even especially from older generations that are trying to use they, them appropriately in conversation. So I'm going to come up with some suggestions around that for you. And one of them I remember I saw on Instagram was taking a friend to a coffee shop and practicing with them. Just around using those pronouns and how they sound in different conversations before trying to use them with the person that would like you to. Because in practicing them and going through it together with a different friend can help you in your conversations in the future with your LGBTQ plus friend, and just respecting their wishes and their boundaries and what they prefer. Okay, so thank you everyone for listening in today. As I mentioned, if you have any questions afterwards, I would love to answer them in the comment section and I will get back to you. So take care everyone. Bye.